Ricky Rose, the time has come. Meech home. February 13th, get your tickets right now. It's going down. We know Florida gonna be there. Miami gonna be there. The legend himself gonna be in the building, making history. Meech, who else coming?
The whole nation. Detroit, St. Louis, California, everybody. Atlanta, Georgia, ATL, stand up.
Woo. We're gonna make history. Get your tickets right. 50, who own your masters? Who own your masters? I buy your masters. You better shut up. I will buy your masters.
The BMF saga just took another wild turn as Lil Meech has gone off on Rick Ross, accusing the Miami rapper of scamming his family empire for over $120 million. According to insiders, the explosive allegations stem from a massive deal Ross reportedly made using the BMF name, allegedly cutting Lil Meech out completely while profiting off the legacy his father built.
I want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie, F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino. It's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big, I can feel it. I'm just talking,
In a fiery live stream, Lil Meech didn't hold back, calling Ross a snake and claiming he manipulated contracts to seize control of future projects tied to BMF. "You don't feed off another man's struggle and call yourself a boss," Meech said, his anger spilling over as fans watched in shock. The accusations trace back to reports of a $120 million deal involving rights to upcoming films, documentaries, and merchandise connected to the BMF brand. Sources close to Lil Meech say the paperwork was intentionally hidden from him, leaving Ross and his team with the lion's share of the profits. Ross has yet to respond directly, but fans are already flooding social media with mixed reactions, some siding with Lil Meech, others defending Ross as a savvy businessman. With the BMF legacy already strained by financial disputes and family drama, this alleged $120 million scam has poured gasoline on the fire. And with Lil Meech openly declaring war, this feud could explode into one of the ugliest battles hip-hop has seen in years. Rick Ross just played Big Meech like a pawn in a $120 million hustle, and now 50 Cent is out here clowning the entire situation loud. But here's the wild part. Everybody on the block saw this scam coming from a mile away. Everybody except Meech himself. Ross dangled movie deals, major projects, all that flashy talk about building legacies. But when the smoke cleared, Meech and his son were left looking broke. While Ross kept living large, mansion living, cars, and luxury dripping everywhere. And if you'd been listening close to the street chatter, you'd know how this whole mess began. When Big Meech walked out of prison back in October, folks thought the comeback was finally loading, the legend returning to reclaim his throne.
I feel bad for Lil Meech. I don't feel bad for no grown man on this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the f I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too. What you asking for my sympathy for? You be alright.
Everybody expected a massive play, a real empire-level move to shake the culture. Then, out of nowhere, Rick Ross popped up, running his mouth heavy with promises. A $120 million film, blockbuster projects, fat contracts. He made it sound like Meech was about to finally eat off his own name, cashing in on the empire he built brick by brick. On paper, it looked golden, but when the curtain dropped, nothing. Ross delivered absolutely zero. Instead, he used Meech's name like a prop, a flashy stamp to flex against his longtime foe, 50 Cent. The streets weren't fooled, though. Folks had been side-eyeing Ross since the beginning, calling those promises nothing but clout-chasing smoke. Because deep down, everybody already knew who was putting in the real work. 50 had been the one grinding. funding the BMF show, sliding cash into Lil Meech's acting classes, and opening real doors in Hollywood. He wasn't just talking, he was building. While Ross was out here selling dreams wrapped in glitter. That gave Lil Meech a career. Meanwhile, Ross brought nothing but empty hype and a PR boost. Still, Meech leaned closer to Ross, ignoring the one man who actually kept him afloat, and that decision didn't sit well with insiders. Tony Yayo even said it straight, 50 been riding with Lil Meech from the jump. No sugarcoating, no filter, just facts. Now, word on the street is Meech started feeling the pressure. Frustration boiling, pockets looking funny, realizing Ross linked up with him for one reason only, to keep poking at 50 Cent. It wasn't loyalty, it wasn't respect, it was strategy, keeping the feud alive. And now the optics got Meech looking like a pawn, not a king. Instead of leveling up his legacy, he's stuck as the middle piece in someone else's chess game. That's when 50 Cent decided enough was enough. He came swinging straight from his troll playbook, saying Ross told Lil Meech to hand over his dad's address so he could send Wingstop wings. But that wings jab wasn't just comedy, it was a coded message. 50 basically told the world Ross wasn't feeding Meech anything but scraps.
I wasn't going to address this because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor, always with me. So I'm doing this for my loved ones and the support of my friends and family.
And the humor stung deep because it cut too close to reality. Then things escalated further. 50 dropped bombshells about Lil Meech's personal struggles. He claimed he personally sent Meech to rehab, saying the kid was showing up on set lit, throwing up during a weapons test, and couldn't even hold it together. And if that wasn't enough, came the story about the whippets found in his truck. These weren't just petty shots. These were shots designed to shake the image, peel back the glossy surface, and remind the world who had really been holding the cards in this messy feud. 50 laughed at the madness, said he even had to Google what whippets were. The picture he painted was sharp, him as the grown man in the room, stepping in to keep Lil Meech on track while his pops was out here hyping the very habits that were dragging him down. 50 framed it all as him playing protector, while Ross and Big Meech played reckless, careless with the legacy they were supposed to be guarding. And after all that, Lil Meech still chose to side with Ross, seen chilling in clubs, smiling for cameras, and posting up like everything was sweet. That move had the culture shaking its head, roasting the Big Meech legacy, saying the bond with Ross collapsed faster than anyone expected. Then came a voice that turned up the volume, Michael Rainey Jr., 50's own power star. He stepped out bold and said flat out, he don't feel sorry for Lil Meech or Big Meech because grown men should have seen this coming. That comment didn't just sting, it lit up the internet like gasoline on fire. That clip went viral fast. And word is, 50 doubled down once he caught wind. He stood behind Rainey's words, stamping the narrative that the Meech camp was looking weak, looking unprepared, and falling into the wrong hands. And truth be told, Ross leaving people stranded isn't even a new storyline in his book. Allegedly, he already pulled the same trick on his own squad up in Canada. Left his boys to get jumped while he dipped out, then later came back spinning the story, claiming it was all a test of strength. Cold-blooded moves disguised as leadership, textbook Ross, but that's Ross's MO. Folks been saying he's been moving grimy since day one. Even Wack 100 jumped into the fire, blasting Ross as the real villain lurking behind the scenes. Wack said straight, Ross was never a real friend to Big Meech, he just used him as a pawn to keep throwing shade at 50. Because if Ross was serious about helping, he would have moved in silence, kept business private, and actually built something solid with Meek instead of parading him like a trophy. Instead, Ross broadcasted everything, making it about his own shine and his own ego. And that right there told the whole story. Ross wasn't in it for Meech, he was in it for himself. He already knew the play before he ran it, gassing Meech up with talk about stacked bread, empires, movie projects, all while parading him around to boost his own clout. Low-key, Ross was flipping the script, turning him against 50 Cent, the one man who had truly been holding him down. And when the dust cleared, it was all smoke, no real substance. Ross went silent on Meech, left him dangling with no follow-up, no action, no money moves. The hype just vanished into thin air. Suddenly, it was clear to everyone, Ross only pushes plays that line his pockets, and Meech wasn't part of that plan anymore. Word on the block is Ross was even behind the cancellation of Meech's welcome home benefit. Folks were quick to blame 50, but insiders say the truth was different. Ross didn't want Meech having a successful comeback at all. He wanted him sidelined, out the spotlight, while Ross played social media hero. That's betrayal, straight up trading loyalty for clout. And instead of rewriting his legend, Meech stumbled straight into the mess. People stopped rocking with him, momentum collapsed, and things got worse when Meech tried clapping back. Calling 50 an internet gangster, claiming all 50 does is troll from behind a phone. But the streets weren't fooled for a second. They called it exactly what it was, pure damage control. And family, when you zoom in, Ross's entire history shows the same dirty pattern. BMF had Meech thinking Ross was riding for him like real family, like blood ties bonded them forever. But what if that was just the setup? What if Ross only wanted to wear the big Meech crown in the eyes of the culture, flexing like he was the boss? It fits the script perfectly, because Ross built his whole rap brand off names that weren't his. And that ain't even surprising. It's documented, stamped, and recorded. His entire persona came from the real Rick Ross, a heavy hitter running the streets until he was locked away while the rapper ran wild with his identity. And when the real Rick Ross touched ground again, he didn't stay quiet. He called him out and even tried suing him for stealing the name and the legacy. But that wasn't the only time Ross ran that play. He did it again with Larry Hoover, dropping the man's name in bars while Hoover was stuck behind bars, stacking clout and cash off someone else's struggle. Same strategy, different legend. And when you line it all up across the years, it paints one clear picture. Ross's whole career has been fueled by borrowed names, borrowed legacies, and borrowed power. But here's where it gets even uglier. The pattern ain't just about names, it's about power. Every time Ross latches onto a legend, the same cycle plays out. He talks big numbers, paints a dream of loyalty, then flips it into a spotlight for himself. Insiders say he's less of a partner and more of a parasite, siphoning energy, stacking followers, and then vanishing once the clout dries up. With Big Meech, the play felt almost scripted. Ross sold visions of $120 million films, empire-building projects, and a new chapter for BMF. But when reality hit, the empire talk collapsed, leaving Meech in the middle of broken promises and fading respect. And in the streets, perception is everything. When the mask slips, it's hard to put it back on. That's why the whispers now sound louder. People saying Ross never cared about Meech's story, never cared about rebuilding his empire. What he wanted was to hijack the legend, drape himself in it like a costume, and use the glow to take another swing at 50 Cent. To Ross, Meech was a chess piece, nothing more. And when the game board shifted, he moved on like the loyalty never mattered. And this is where 50 Cent steps in swinging harder than ever. He didn't just laugh Ross off, he turned the whole situation into ammunition. Every interview, every post, every subtle jab was sharpened into a blade aimed right at Ross's image. 50 painted him as the fraud of the industry, somebody who built an empire off names that weren't his and promises he never planned to keep. The more 50 pressed, the more the cracks started showing. Old footage of Ross ducking questions about the real Rick Ross resurfaced, interviews where he stumbled trying to defend his fake cop past, and receipts of deals that never added up. And fans ate it up because nothing hits harder than watching an inflated image deflate live in front of the culture. Meanwhile, insiders close to the BMF story claim 50's not just trolling for laughs, he's playing long game chess.
Have you ever seen anybody confront Rick Ross about you?
Not in person, no. Anytime I'm around, he disappears.
But is there any video of anybody like, hey, why are you running around with this dude's name?
By dragging Ross's name through the mud, he's making sure nobody ever forgets who actually put in the work, to keep Meech's legacy alive. He's pulling receipts, funding projects, and putting Lil Meech in real Hollywood positions, while Ross's contribution looks more like smoke, mirrors, and empty promises. And with every meme, every sarcastic punchline, 50's reminding Ross that the streets don't crown clout chasers, they crown builders. And in that war, Ross can't match him. Ross been eating off other people's legacies for years, and now allegedly doing the same thing to Meech. Truth be told, men who move like that can hardly be trusted. No shock here. 50 Cent been saying from the very start that he never respected Ross as a man, never saw him as solid. And of course, the online community is loud about it. One voice hit hard saying, "Rick Ross is a fraud." Another wrote, "Ross messed him up bad." The comments keep flooding, some calling it exploitation, others saying it's just the game. But the question remains, was Ross really playing Meech from the jump, or did Meech just get blinded by the shine? Is Meech's loyalty misplaced, or did he truly get played for clout while his name was turned into another one of Ross's props? Because in this industry, trust and betrayal walk the same road, and one wrong move can flip legacies upside down. Now it's your turn. Drop your thoughts below. Was Ross just playing the hustle, or did he leave Big Meech high and dry on purpose? Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this video before the next bombshell drops. Turn on notifications too, because the next expose is coming, and trust, it's gonna be even heavier than this one.